Joining us today on the podcast, a man who really needs no introduction, but we'll do it anyways. Calais Campbell, big fella. Welcome home, man. How does it feel to be back here in South Florida?
It feels good. It feels really good, Really happy to be here.
There's so many things that I want to discuss with you, but I guess we'll start with that, the homecoming, right? Because you had options, different teams. Maybe you also could have called it a career with an eye towards Canton in 5 years down the road, but you didn't do that. You signed up for another year here with the Miami Dolphins. My question is, why? Why'd you want to come down here?
Well, first of all, playing football, I could have retired, but I definitely felt like I still had some good ball left in me. And I just want to go out there and just leave it on the field, what better place to do it than in Miami with a team that's stacked, rosters top to bottom, stacked as defense. It's super stacked. You got the, secondary, the offense putting up points the way they did last year. If we can just get, a little bit of that again, I feel like this could be a real big year. And, just the people here, especially Anthony Weaver. He's a guy I have a great relationship with, a lot of respect for. As a defensive coordinator, I was hoping he got a head coaching job this year. But when that didn't work out, I was happy that, he got the DC role. And, this is such a great place. When I went through my list of teams of, I would play for, this was number one on my list. And so, some other teams got involved and, made some interesting pitches and definitely made it interesting for sure. But in the end, it was the relationships with Coach Weed that really made a big difference, and just the people here that I met through my visit. And then just knowing the guys on the field, man, this roster is stacked, and knowing that I think I can add a lot of value in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I do want to come back to Coach Weaver because obviously the connection there is strong. But I'm curious to ask you because you mentioned the idea of winning. And this team, has won a lot of games the last 4 years, but hasn't gotten over that, proverbial hump. And you've been part of different teams, different building cycles. The first year Super Bowl, you guys kind of go back a few years later to the NFC Championship game down the road with the Cardinals. You go to a Ravens team and you get them over the hump. You kind of get the Jaguars deep into the playoffs. What do you think you add in terms of helping a team that's kind of there on the precipice make that next step?
Experience, experience is huge. I haven't won a Super Bowl. There's guys like Shaq Barrett who have, and Jalen Ramsey, but there's definitely a good mix of guys who've had a lot of success in this league. But for me, I feel like I'm, still super hungry because I haven't, gotten to that mountaintop just yet. But I have played at 3 championship games, and have been a part of some really talented defenses. And, I feel like, I take great pride in being a leader and just knowing, how to bring the best out of everybody around me, And so that's something I'm going to do my best at, is trying to just, put together just good messaging, echoing what the coaches say, trying to get guys to buy in and just, give their all. But when you're this talented and you can get guys to buy in, we're going to win a lot of ball games, if we can just lock in and play with that kind of focus that you need. But at the same time, though, you got to earn it each and every day. It's not going to be easy, and so, but I do believe that, what I bring is just a unique perspective with experience. Of just getting guys to buy into the bigger picture, sacrifice self, check ego out the door, and do what's required to win ball games.
So that leadership aspect that you mentioned, it's apparent in your career. You've done it at so many spots now. When you come into a new organization and you are the new guy, how does that kind of change your approach to leadership? Do you kind of ease your way into it? Like, what's your approach to being a leader on a brand new football team?
Yeah, you got to earn the respect of the guys, right? You can't come in and say, "Oh, I'm the leader now." Right. Especially like in my current situation, I'm the aging vet. Now I still think I got some great football in me. I think sometimes, but when you're coming to a new place, you're not the high-paid top free agent. People aren't really looking to you to be a leader. But because of my history and my relationship with some of the guys already on the team, I feel like it's just earning the respect, earning that respect, showing them that that I can still play at a high level, but also showing them that I believe what it takes to be successful. And if we can all believe that same thing, but I think when you go to a new team, though, you don't really want to come in and, I think, for me coming into a new team, first thing I want to do is just lead by example, go out there and compete at a high level and just, go out there and just play at a standard that's worthy of being a champion. And I think that's contagious in itself because energy is contagious every time you go out there. Somebody's either bringing you down or you're bringing them up, depending on who you are and how hard you're going. And so that level right there by itself is going to make a difference. But then I also feel like, just like kind of like with my experience and knowing what to say in moments and being in pretty much every situation you can be in on the football field. I played in every big game. I understand like the process and the preparation and all the stuff that goes into it. I think that's where it really comes a big deal. It's when we get in those big games and we're in moments and sometimes something needs to be said. A lot of times in my experience, I know what needs to be said in those moments, and that's why I feel like it's going to be a big deal. But at the same time, though, there are other guys on this team that I think are going to be great leaders too. And one of the things I've been doing later in my career is trying to, my version of leading is helping younger guys with big voices and with the right makeup to be good leaders, helping nourish them into becoming more leaders. Last year, when I was in Atlanta, Jesse Bates, who's all-pro superstar safety, big money guy, and we competed against each other when I was in Baltimore. He was in Cincinnati. I always knew what he can do. He started kind of being that vocal leader on the team. And I remember we had plenty of conversations where he was like, man, thank you for challenging me and getting me to speak more because I seen that he understood, what it meant to win and what it was going to take to win. And he knew what to say. He just needed to be, the same thing happened to me when I was a young buck, like I became in Arizona, like had your guys saying like, hey, you got to speak up more. You got to be the guy. People are looking to you. You got to be the one. So that's part of it too, is just finding the guys on the team who have that natural born leadership qualities and helping them, realize that. So really long way of saying
it's great. And I think it's a good follow-up to this next question because the communication aspect of defense is so critical in any part of football, really. But in watching, your tape for one, which is a blast for me. I love watching your game, but also a lot of the breakdowns you've done, like with Brian Baldinger, for instance, who I think is just the world of his breakdowns. Like they show off your ability to mention to notice these fine details and how they really inform your game, like splits, motions, down and distance. Anything that you can use to help you get an extra step. I'm curious when it comes to being a vet leader that has that nuance and has that experience and knows, if this guard wants to reach me, maybe opens up a backside B gap for a linebacker, whatever the case may be. I'm curious how you communicate those nuances to other players. Like how can your experience help create advantages for your teammates in that same regard?
Yeah, a lot of it is communication and prep work, right? And then even being able to communicate in game, and so like there's a process of watching tape. Hey, this week these guys like to do whatever example you want to give, and this is how I want to play it, so this is how you should play off me, talk with the linebackers or you guys on the edge or you guys in the middle or whatever it may be. There's so many circumstances you go through, but it happens all the time where like we're talking throughout the week. Hey, this is what they like to do when they, get down and they're in the pinch. This is their bread and butter. And when they come to this play, like this is how I'm gonna play it, and we can make this play the back foot if we play it this way. And a lot of that is why I like Coach Weave too, because he's in those conversations and he's like, yeah, man, take control. How you want to play it? Was make sure we're on the same page, make sure we're all aligned, so we're not hurt each other, and then let's play it that way. And then in game, a lot of times too, it's like okay, because everybody game plans, and each week they kind of going with 3 or 4 things that is like new for that week. And so once you kind of get in the middle of the game, you see what they're trying to do to you, you start, talking about, hey, I was planning on playing it this way, but that's not working. Let's adjust. I'm going to start playing it this way. And so when you see this, just go this way or whatever it may be, there's so many examples you can give, but that happens a lot. And that's where the experience plays a big role. I had a lot of reps. I don't know how many games I played, but it's a lot. And, and in those games, there's a lot of reps, so I didn't see everything you could do on the football field. I mean, if they come up with something new, I'd be shocked.
I'm glad you mentioned it because I have the numbers here for you because they blow me away. So a 16-year career, you average 760 snaps per season. Are you aware of how crazy that is for a defensive lineman? Like guys don't play that many snaps, especially for 16 years. Your career can drive at this point, and you play more snaps than most guys in every single year. So my question is, what is the secret, man? Like the nutrition, the workout. How do you stay so durable and so available for so long?
I mean, I do all the things that you have to do to get availability. But I think, when it comes to like most of this, it's like just the blessings from above, right? God has blessed me because you can go through all the right things. I don't think it's really going to matter if it's just it's a lot of football fortune, right? I just I've been in some bad situations, get rolled up on, and I was like, oh, okay, I got through just barely, that could have been ugly, I mean, so many bad situations on the football field, and it came through on the other side good. But I do spend a lot of time and resources on my body. I do work with a lot of specialists. I mean, I literally last year had 6 different people coming in, flying in from different cities that were specialists at something, working on my body with me. Weekly, I got all of the machinery, that over the years from hyperbaric chambers and all just cool things that exist out there to help recovery and speed all that up. I feel like I always encourage young guys when they're trying to how do you take care of your body? It's like try all the things that exist out there and figure out what works for you, because there are things out there that I tried that I don't really feel a difference. Like, it doesn't really work for me. And there's things where it's like other guys like, that worked for you? That didn't really work for me. But for me, it was everything, So, everybody's body's different, and learning your body, learning what works for you. But I've put a lot of time and effort and a lot of resources to figure out what works for my body. And I got a good routine going, and I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off.
You found it. You found out what works for you perfectly. Because like I said, it just doesn't happen in this league to have that type of longevity and durability. So you've alluded to Coach Weaver a few times. I'll just go ahead and ask you straight up, what does he do to empower you and your teammates to get the best out of a defense?
Yeah, well, a lot of things, honestly. I think he's a brilliant football mind, another football junkie. I mean, we could talk football for hours,
Please do.
But the history of the game, different, techniques, different ways of doing things, different schematics, how, some of these tweaks on different schematics. I mean, there's only so much you can do on the football field, especially as an offensive lineman trying to block somebody. I mean, there's only so many ways you can move.
Right.
You could try to add some variations to things with hand placement and, different ways and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's football, there's only so much you can do. But we talked through all those different scenarios, and I think the best thing about him as a coach is, I mean, his football mind allows for him to understand the players at a high level. So when we come in and have conversations from an intellectual standpoint about the game, he's not super combative. And there's other coaches that also listen to players and respond, but I feel like he's probably one of the best, if not the best, at understanding letting the players have a say so and taking some ownership of what we do on the football field. Because there's definitely coaches I've had where it's like, I want you to do it this way and this way only, especially when you're young. This is the only way I know works. And it's like, well, I mean, first of all, you're asking, 3 people with 3 different body types to play the same technique who have 3 different strengths. It doesn't make sense. I think that you have to have a variety. You have to have, different ways of playing it. Now, this is what I feel like works the best, and so I'm going to teach you to do it this way. I want you to try it this way. But, if you have other techniques that you feel like can work in the same thing, this is the ultimate goal we want. And so one of the things I liked when I was working with Weave in Baltimore is, literally, whatever technique I want to play each week, as long as I communicated with him and we had an open dialogue on why, not once was he like, yeah, I don't really think that's gonna work for you, Now, if I try it and it ain't working, you're coming like, hey, you tried it, this ain't what I wanted to look like, so let's try it a different way, and we talked through that scenario as well. But I think that, now obviously being at the coordinator level, it's a lot different. But even a guy like, Jalen Ramsey or, these other guys on the back end, I played with Jalen in Jacksonville, and we had a, really good, really good season in 2017. And me and him were like the leaders of that defense. Even being a young guy, but he really was very outspoken on how he wanted to play things. And I think Weave's gonna be a really good coach for him because, at the end of the day, he gives us ownership, right? Mm-hmm. So, he has, what he wants as well. But if you feel like, okay, if I can play with a certain technique to get you what you want so we can all be successful, then he's going to give us that freedom. And I think, somebody like Jalen is really going to benefit from that because he definitely is a very brilliant football mind. And he studies a lot about the game, and he knows how he wants to do things. And so having that kind of freedom and being able to communicate that is going to be huge.
And like yourself, very versatile player too, can play inside, outside. And so for a guy like you that's played 5 technique, played some nose tackle and everywhere in between, right? That versatility seems to be one of the hallmarks of this defense. You've kind of feel that same way.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I already. They were asking me in the press conference, you know, where do I feel like I'm gonna play at? And I was like, everywhere. You know, Coach Weave is, I mean, he's really smart in matchups and looks and trying to like make things, you know, like, you know, doing simple things, you know, but making it look complicated. And a lot of that is alignments and moving around and stuff. And so, like, I already know I'm gonna line up everywhere, literally everywhere. We all will. We all take turns line up different things, and it makes. I mean, it makes it more challenging offenses because, I mean, we might, you know, give you a look, do something out of it, and next week we give you a similar look and do something completely different, you know, and then, you know, give you a look that is different, but then give you the same thing we gave you before. Like, it's just
You're
so many different things you do. Yeah. Exactly. It's not that confusing, but offenses will be confused.
Yeah, that's good to hear. That's what we're looking forward to. So we'll go ahead and finish up with you here real quick because I saw on your Instagram page a picture of you and your son boogie boarding, and I'm curious, how tough is it for a man of your stature to balance on a boogie board? Are you pretty good at it?
I'm terrible on the boogie board.
I thought that might be the case, but I just wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I have stood up on a surfboard and went surfing,
Yeah?
you know, so I am still a good athlete. That wasn't that long ago either, but I got up and, you know, that was, you know, just it was a great challenge. I really wanted to see if I could do it, and I did it. But, yeah.
That's way more impressive, I think. Surfing, I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, but I love being on the ocean, love being on the boogie board. My son loves it, you know, and so it's gonna be a great year. I'm really happy to be here.
You came to the right place. Calais Campbell, appreciate your time today, man. Thank you so much. Calais Campbell, New Dolphins defensive lineman.